The first whispers of Mami Wata come not from books nor temples of stone, but from the rhythm of the waves themselves, a cadence that seems to sigh her name across the coasts of West Africa. She is a story born of water, shimmering and restless, a goddess whose body is made of both the caress and the tempest. Her presence lingers wherever rivers meet the sea, wherever fishermen set their nets beneath the moon, wherever lovers walk along shores, unsure if the breeze they feel is natural or the breath of the spirit herself. Mami Wata is not simply told, she is felt, flowing into the blood like tide water, impossible to resist, impossible to contain. Water has always been the mirror of desire. It cools, refreshes, seduces with its clarity, but it also drowns, swallows, hides within its depths what no eye can bear to see. In the same way, Mami Wata exists in contradiction. She is the shimmering promise of comfort and the shadow of doom. To some, she appears as a woman of surpassing beauty, skin like polished obsidian glistening under starlight, hair as long and dark as the ocean's endless floor. To others, she comes crowned in jewels, each gemstone dripping from her arms and neck as though the sea itself had woven them around her. And yet, in all visions of her, one truth persists. Her eyes, deep and liquid, draw mortals like a whirlpool, pulling them closer until they can no longer recall where safety ended and danger began. Across villages, her stories ripple like water across sand. Mothers hush restless children with her name, warning them that if they wander too close to the riverside at night, Mami Wata will carry them away, cradling them in her arms as the water closes above their heads. Men whisper of her with a mixture of desire and fear, speaking of encounters where she rose from beneath the current, her body luminous in moonlight, her voice as smooth as a song played on a single string. Merchants and travelers tell of dreams where she appeared draped in pearls, coiling serpents around her waist, offering them untold riches if only they would surrender to her embrace.
To worship Mami Wata is to worship the raw pulse of longing itself. Her shrines gleam with offerings of mirrors, combs, perfume, and silk, objects of beauty, tokens of vanity, each reflecting her irresistible power. Those who honor her hope for prosperity, fertility, and fortune. Yet every gift placed at her altar is given with trembling hands, for they know her favor is fickle. She blesses and curses with the same touch, lavishing wealth one moment and unraveling lives the next. Like water, she is both life and destruction, quenching thirst and consuming ships. But what makes her more dangerous than any storm is not her wrath, it is her allure. Mami Wata does not seize her victims by force. She tempts them into surrender. Her presence wraps itself around the heart like warm water around skin, soft, intoxicating. When she appears, the world loses its edges. The air thickens with a sweetness like ripe fruit, and the sound of her laughter mingles with the eternal murmur of waves. She promises love so absolute it erases memory, wealth so abundant it drowns sorrow, knowledge so intimate it feels like being swallowed whole. And who can resist? To see her is to ache. To ache is to give in. And to give in is to risk everything. Legends say she is not one spirit, but many, a current of divinity flowing through countless waters across the African continent and into the Americas, carried by the currents of history and migration. In one tale, she is a river goddess, her body winding across the land, nourishing fields and villages, while keeping her secrets beneath the surface. In another, she is a mermaid who combs her hair with a golden comb, her tail shimmering like scales of liquid silver. Sometimes she is seen with a serpent coiled around her body, a symbol of rebirth, wealth, and seduction. In all her forms, she is both familiar and unknowable, as close as the water you drink, as distant as the ocean floor. To speak of Mami Wata is to speak of thresholds. She is the place where night brushes against dawn, where desire brushes against fear, where a kiss may dissolve into drowning. Her nature is not one of simple cruelty nor kindness. She is balance undone, harmony twisted into rapture. To the devout, she is a mother, granting children to the barren, fortune to the poor, passion to the lonely. To the reckless, she is the fatal temptation, leaving them hollow and wandering after a taste of her beauty.
Yet perhaps this is why her myth endures, why her presence has been whispered through centuries like an unending tide. Because every heart knows what it means to want what might destroy it. Every soul recognizes that trembling moment when desire rises like a wave and reason drowns beneath it. Mami Wata is not only a goddess of water, she is the embodiment of this universal truth that what we crave most deeply is often what terrifies us most profoundly. Picture her now, at the edge of night, seated upon a stone slick with spray. The moon spills its silver across her shoulders. Her long hair, wet and heavy, clings to her back as she combs it slowly, each stroke releasing droplets that fall into the restless sea. Around her ankle coils a serpent, its scales glittering faintly in the dark. She hums, a song without words, rising and falling like the tide, a sound both soothing and unsettling. If you hear it, you cannot turn away. If you draw closer, you will not remember why you should fear. Her gaze meets yours, and in that gaze is the promise of sweetness, eternity, ruin. And this is her power, not brute force, not fire nor sword, but the gentle erosion of will, the beckoning of the heart toward surrender. To worship her is to kneel before your own longing, to admit that within the fluid darkness of desire lies both salvation and destruction. And so she endures, not because people believe in her, but because people cannot escape her. As long as water flows, as long as lips thirst, as long as hearts ache, Mami Wata will be there shimmering at the edge of perception, waiting with a smile that is equal parts comfort and doom.
Some say she was born of the first wave that touched the shore, a fragment of the ocean's endless hunger made flesh. Others insist she is older than that, a memory from before time itself, when creation was still soft and liquid, and gods had not yet bound the world into form. Whatever her origin, her story has always been less about explaining the world and more about reflecting it. The rivers of desire running through every human soul, the way passion and peril share the same bed. To understand Mami Wata is not to master her. She cannot be contained in one story, nor defined by one appearance. She is a ripple that changes shape with every telling, a face seen differently by every eye, sometimes savior, sometimes seductress, sometimes demon, sometimes divine mother. She is all and none, her truth as shifting as the waters that bear her name. Yet this much can be said. To speak of her is to invite her. To think of her is to feel the tug of tide within your chest. Even now, as you listen, her current stirs around you. A whisper, a shimmer, a breath of cool air, as if the sea itself leans close to remind you that she is near. And in that nearness lies a question, eternal and intimate. Will you resist the pull, or will you surrender? Mami Wata waits, always, between the rhythm of your heartbeat and the sigh of the tide. And though you may tell yourself her story is only myth, deep down some part of you already knows she is real in the way that desire is real, real in the way that water is real, real in the way that longing refuses to die. She does not need temples or scriptures, for her shrine is the body itself, trembling under the touch of its own hunger. She is mystery, she is beauty, she is danger, she is love. And from the beginning until the end of time, she will remain. She emerges from the mist of the river at twilight, not as a roar of thunder or a crash of waves, but with the subtlety of water kissing the sand. Mami Wata's beauty is a mystery, sculpted not in stone, but in fluid motion, each glance a ripple, each breath a tide. Her long hair flows like a living current, dark as midnight, yet catching light so it gleams like wet obsidian. When she combs it, strands cling to her fingers like threads of silk drawn from the depths of the sea. Adorned with jewels that shimmer as if the ocean had crystallized its hidden treasures into precious stones, she glows with a brilliance that no human hand could fashion. Around her throat, necklaces of coral and pearl seem to pulse softly, as though they carry the rhythm of the waves themselves. The water itself seems to bend in reverence to her presence. Droplets cling to her skin like diamonds, tracing her arms, her shoulders, the curve of her waist. She wears silk and shells, garments that flutter and cling as though made of foam, their colors shifting with every angle of light. Sometimes her form is human, sensual in its perfect symmetry, a body sculpted from longing itself. Sometimes it is not, Her legs melt into scales, her hips curl into the fluid shimmer of a mermaid's tail, each scale glittering like moonlit silver. And always, always, a serpent coils itself around her form, its body gleaming, its eyes glinting, an intimate and unnerving companion. It slithers across her shoulders, down her back, encircling her thighs, a reminder of her wild duality, mother of fertility, herald of death, goddess of desire, mistress of fear. To behold her is to understand why men tremble. She is not simply beautiful, she is beauty unchained, beauty made unbearable. Her smile is a promise that could save or damn, her gaze a tide that draws you out too far, too deep, until the shore vanishes behind you. One moment she is divine mother, her voice soft as lullabies sung beside a cradle. The next, she is unpredictable as the storm, her laughter sharp as lightning, her silence heavy with threat. She is a goddess who comforts and a goddess who destroys. And perhaps the cruelest truth of all is this: her worshippers never know which face they will meet.
Yet, her myth would mean little without the one who seeks her. For every goddess requires a witness, and every mystery requires a mortal heart willing to ache for it. He is no king, no warrior, no prophet. He is simply a man, sometimes a fisherman casting his net in silence, sometimes a traveler following the riverbank, sometimes a wanderer haunted by rumors. He has heard whispers of her beauty, carried in the songs of merchants, in the warnings of old women, in the drunken confessions of those who swear they saw her beneath the moon. These whispers echo in him until they become need. This seeker is the mirror of all human longing. His chest carries the weight of unsatisfied hunger. Hunger not just for food, but for wealth, for love, for meaning, for a touch that makes the world vanish. He is no extraordinary, but his weakness is profound, for it is the same weakness shared by all, the inability to turn away when beauty beckons. His nights are restless, filled with dreams of a woman combing her hair by the water's edge, her skin glowing, her voice humming. By dawn, his body aches with the absence of her. He tells himself he seeks fortune, that Mami Wata might bless him with gold or success, but deep within, he knows the truth. He does not crave wealth, he craves her. In him lies the tension of the story. He knows the warnings. The villagers have told him again and again, do not follow the laughter in the reeds. Do not drink from the water at night. Do not look if a woman rises from the river with jewels in her hair. They tell him of those who vanished, men who walked into the tide and never returned, men who came back rich but hollow-eyed, their spirits dimmed, their hands restless. The old women shake their heads, their eyes sharp with knowledge. She gives, but she takes more. She heals, but she binds. Do not let your heart
answer her call. But warnings are fragile things when weighed against longing. The seeker listens politely, then slips away when the moon is high, following the sound of a voice he cannot resist. Every footstep is both fear and anticipation, every breath both prayer and betrayal. He knows he should not go, but desire is stronger than wisdom, and so he follows. Behind him, the village murmurs with unease. Children glance at the river's edge and grip their mothers' hands tighter. Elders light lamps, offering prayers of protection, asking the unseen spirits to veil him from her gaze. Among them, some whisper not with pity, but with envy. Envy that he might behold what they never dared to seek. For while Mami Wata inspires terror, she inspires yearning in equal measure.
The spirits of the river know this man. They watch him approach, their whispers stirring the reeds, their movements trembling the surface of the water. Some pity him, for they know his fate is sealed. Others mock him, laughing in soft ripples, delighting in the drama that always unfolds when mortal flesh dares to reach for the divine. The river holds its breath, waiting for the moment of encounter, the moment when the goddess and the seeker stand face to face. And so the stage is set, the goddess of water and desire, adorned in serpents and jewels, unpredictable as the tide. The mortal man, fragile, yearning, undone by the very hunger that defines him. Around them, villagers whisper warnings, and spirits whisper fate. Between them, the current of longing pulls tighter, inevitable, irresistible. In this story, there is no hero, no villain, only the eternal dance between what is desired and what is feared. She is not merely a goddess to him. She is the embodiment of everything he has ever craved but never dared to claim. And he, in turn, is not merely a man to her. He is the reflection of countless souls who have looked into her eyes and drowned willingly. Here they are, two figures poised on the brink of encounter. She, fluid and eternal, her beauty glittering like light across restless water. He, trembling yet determined, his desire naked, his weakness shining in the dark. They are mirrors of each other. She, the goddess who is never satisfied. He, the mortal who cannot resist. The river hums, the wind pauses, the serpent coils tighter around her body, and the night waits. The story does not yet begin in earnest, for now it is only the presentation of the players in this intoxicating drama. But the moment is heavy with promise. Soon the man will step forward. Soon the goddess will smile. Soon their fates will entwine like water around flesh, like longing around soul. The villagers' warnings will vanish into the distance. The serpent will glisten in the moonlight, and somewhere in the depths of the river, spirits will murmur, "Another one comes,
Another one surrenders. For this is what it means to know Mami Wata. To see her is to enter a story that has no escape, only surrender. And he has already taken the first step.
The night was heavy with silence, the kind of silence that hums against the skin, thick with expectation. The seeker stood at the edge of the river, his breath shallow, his eyes wide, his heart beating with a rhythm that seemed to echo the pulse of the waters before him. He had walked farther than ever before, past the last warning cries of the villagers, past the comfort of firelight, into a darkness that belonged to the spirits. And there, where moonlight painted the river silver, she appeared. Mami Wata rose from the water like a dream drawn into flesh. Her body shimmered as though woven of liquid light, droplets sliding down her skin, jewels glittering against her throat and wrists. The serpent, ever faithful, curled around her waist, its body moving with a grace that matched her own. Her long hair cascaded wet against her shoulders, dark as the depths below, and as she combed it with her golden comb, each strand gleamed like threads of night caught in starlight. The seeker froze, his body, his breath, even his thoughts, everything stopped. It was not fear that bound him, but desire, a desire so sudden, so fierce, that it hollowed him out in an instant. He had heard of her beauty, but no whisper, no tale, no warning could prepare him for the reality of her presence. She was not merely beautiful, she was beauty itself, distilled, concentrated, made unbearable to the mortal eye. Her gaze found him, and in that gaze was an invitation. A small smile curved her lips, soft and dangerous. She did not speak at first, but she did not need to. The river rippled around her body, and in that sound was a voice, a melody, a lure. The seeker felt it coil around his chest, tugging him forward, urging him to step closer. And he did. One step, then another, his bare feet sinking into the damp sand. He should have been afraid. He should have remembered the warnings, the stories of men who vanished into her embrace, of those who returned but were never whole again. But desire had already rooted itself deep inside him, drowning every thought that was not her. "Come closer," she murmured at last, her voice low, liquid, intimate. It was a voice that seemed to rise from the water itself, caressing his ears, seeping into his veins. His body trembled, not from cold, but from a heat that spread across his skin, as though her gaze alone could set him aflame.
He longed for her touch. He longed for the curve of her arms around him, for the press of her lips, for the weight of her gaze never to leave him. His hunger was not only for her body, but for her secret, for the mystery she embodied, for the forbidden knowledge that lay behind those unfathomable eyes. He wanted her love, though he did not understand what kind of love a goddess could give. He wanted her to choose him, to bind herself to him, to erase the distance between mortal and divine. But beneath the yearning stirred fear.
In the deepest part of his heart, he knew that to touch her was to risk losing himself. Her beauty was not made for men, her embrace not meant for mortals. Could love from a goddess ever be given freely, without cost? Or would her kiss be the last memory he ever had, before his soul dissolved into her waters? The struggle inside him deepened. One part of him screamed to turn away, to flee into the safety of darkness, to preserve his fragile life. Another part, louder, stronger, desperate, demanded he surrender, demanded he fall to his knees before her and give himself wholly. Mami Wata stepped closer. The water around her stirred with her movement, little waves curling toward the shore. With each step, the air thickened, heavy with her scent, with the sweetness of fruit and salt and something darker, intoxicating. Her jewels glowed faintly, casting prisms of color across his skin. The serpent shifted, its body brushing against her thigh, its tongue flickering, as though it too tasted the air of his desire. "You are not afraid," she whispered, tilting her head, studying him. I am," he admitted, his voice raw, trembling. Her smile deepened, slow and knowing. Good. Fear is the twin of desire. Without one, the other is nothing. She reached out her hand then, pale and gleaming in the moonlight, droplets cascading from her fingertips. The seeker's breath caught. Every fiber of him screamed to take it, to press her hand against his chest, to let her pull him into her world. But another voice, thin, desperate, warned him that her hand was no gift, but a chain.
"Come," she said, her voice now softer, coaxing. "I will give you what no mortal can dream. Wealth beyond measure, jewels brighter than the stars, gold that never fades. I can fill your hands with treasure until they tremble beneath the weight." Her fingers curled slightly, as though shaping invisible riches. The river seemed to glisten in response, flashes of gold and silver shimmering just beneath the surface. The seeker's eyes widened. He thought of the poverty of his life, the empty nets, the worn clothes, the envy he bore toward men who had more. And yet, the treasure did not call to him as strongly as she did. "I can give you love," she continued, stepping closer still. The river swelled gently as if echoing her words. "A love that will drown every loneliness, that will bind you to me, body and soul. I will be your companion in night and day, your solace, your hunger, your endless desire." Her voice sank deeper, filling the hollow places inside him. He felt his knees weaken, his chest ache, as if she had touched him without moving. His body screamed yes, his heart screamed yes, but his mind clung desperately to the warnings, to the knowledge that no love offered by such a spirit came without its shadow. "And knowledge," she whispered finally, her eyes gleaming with secrets. "I can give you what men have died for, what kings have killed for.
I can show you the truths beneath the surface of the world, the mysteries no mortal tongue dares to name. You will see beyond the veil. You will know the language of waters, the power of serpents, the rhythm of creation itself. But, she paused, her smile sharpening, it will cost you. The words slid through him like a blade. Of course there was a price. There is always a price. What must I give? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. Her gaze softened, almost tender. Your freedom, your soul, your life as you have known it. Once you touch me, you belong to me forever. The silence that followed was unbearable. The river hushed, the wind stilled, even the serpent froze as if waiting. The seeker stood trembling, every part of him pulled in two directions. On one side, the warmth of her voice, the glow of her jewels, the ache of his desire. On the other, the faint echo of the villager's warnings, the memory of his mother's prayers, the fragile thread of his humanity. His lips parted, his breath caught, his hand rose, trembling, reaching toward hers. And in that moment, the conflict inside him was no longer a whisper, but a storm, violent and unrelenting. Desire demanded surrender, fear demanded escape, and between them he hung suspended, spellbound, unable to choose, yet knowing the choice itself would shape his fate forever.
The river seemed to hold its breath as his trembling hand reached for hers. The moon shimmered across her skin, droplets clinging like silver dust, and when their palms touched, the world dissolved. A current surged through him, fierce and intoxicating, as though the entire river had poured itself into his veins. His breath caught, his knees weakened, and for a heartbeat he thought he would collapse beneath the weight of it. But her grip steadied him, strong and cool, pulling him into her realm. She drew him forward, into the water, and the river accepted him like a lover. Cold at first, sharp against his skin, but quickly warming, surrounding him with a liquid embrace. Her eyes never left his, twin pools of mystery and promise, holding him fast. The serpent lifted its head, watching, then coiled more tightly around her waist, as though sealing the moment. "Now," she whispered, her voice liquid velvet, "you are mine." And with those words, her true essence unfolded before him. Her body shimmered, the borders of her form dissolving and reforming, human and more than human all at once. Where her legs had been, the shimmer of scales emerged, iridescent as moonlight on oil. Her hair spread across the water like a dark tide, curling and twisting as though alive. Around her, jewels glowed with a light not borrowed from the moon, but born from within her. The serpent's body gleamed brighter, its eyes reflecting an ancient knowledge. The seeker could not look away. His fear trembled like a fragile flame, but desire surged higher, an inferno consuming all else. She pressed closer, her body gliding against his beneath the water's surface, the sensation both tender and overwhelming. His lungs burned, yet he could not tell if it was from lack of air or from the unbearable proximity of her. "Breathe," she murmured,
pressing her lips to his. He obeyed instinctively, and to his astonishment, water filled his chest but did not choke him. It flowed into him like air, like wine, like fire. His body surrendered, his resistance dissolved. The kiss deepened, her lips both soft and commanding, her tongue a tide that swept him into her. He felt himself unravel, each boundary of his being washed away.
The embrace became a dance, a ritual without words. She twined around him, her arms a current, her hair wrapping his shoulders, her serpent brushing against his skin. The river pulsed in time with their movements, each wave rising and falling as though echoing their union. He lost sense of time, of self. There was only her, only the sensation of being utterly claimed. Ecstasy burned through him. Every nerve sang with pleasure, as if the water itself caressed him. Yet terror lingered beneath, sharp as the serpent's gaze. He felt himself slipping, felt his soul sliding from him like sand through fingers. His thoughts scattered, his memories blurred. His name itself seemed fragile, dissolving under the weight of her love. "You are not afraid now," she whispered against his ear, her breath cool, her words heavy with triumph. I don't know," he gasped, though even the act of speaking felt alien, as though language no longer belonged to him. "You belong to me. Say it." "I belong." His voice faltered, not from unwillingness, but from the sheer immensity of surrender. Her laughter rippled through him, sweet and terrible. She pressed her forehead to his, her eyes blazing like twin moons beneath the water. "You are mine," she said again, firmer now, and he felt the words brand themselves inside him, hotter than fire, colder than ice. A rush of images poured into his mind, visions of wealth beyond imagining, of thrones built of coral and pearl, of lovers adoring him, of secrets whispered by spirits older than the earth. For a moment, the ecstasy blinded him, made him believe he had been remade, reborn as something more than mortal. He reached for her again, desperate, hungry, trembling with awe. But then came the dread. In her embrace, he felt how small he was, how fragile, how mortal. He realized the cost of her love, the weight of eternity pressing against his brief and fragile life. Her kiss was endless, her touch eternal, but he was not. Could his body, his soul, his mind endure the immensity of her? She pressed him deeper into the water, guiding him into her domain. The river swallowed them, yet he did not drown. Colors shimmered in the depths: blue, green, silver, violet. Whirls of light spiraling like galaxies beneath the surface. Strange fish darted past, their scales glinting, their eyes unblinking. Spirits flickered in the currents, pale shapes with hands outstretched, watching, murmuring. All bore witness to this ritual of surrender. The seeker moaned against her lips, half pleasure, half despair.
He no longer knew if he wanted to escape or to drown in her forever. His body arced, his hands clutched at her shoulders, his heart thundered in his chest. Each beat seemed to echo into her, as though his very life had been offered into her keeping. Mami Wata's embrace tightened. Her serpent slid across his chest, coiling around him as though binding him to her. He gasped, but she silenced him with another kiss, slow and endless. His body trembled, his soul quivered, caught between the ecstasy of belonging and the terror of vanishing. "Yes," she whispered, her voice surrounding him, within him. "Surrender. Do not resist. Desire is stronger than fear. Love is stronger than self. Let me take you. Let me keep you. Let me make you mine." And he did. In that moment, he gave up the last thread of resistance. His heart opened, his body relaxed, his soul leaned into the tide. He surrendered utterly, helplessly, and beautifully.
A wave of rapture consumed him. Pleasure so vast it broke him open. Terror so sharp it remade him. He was both drowning and soaring, consumed and exalted. Every part of him belonged to her, and every part of her consumed him. He felt her power surge into him, filling him with a brightness that was almost pain, a darkness that was almost peace. When she finally drew back, her lips parting from his, he gasped as though breathing for the first time. His body quaked, his eyes blurred, his mind trembled on the edge of collapse. She held him close, cradling him against her chest, her fingers stroking his hair with maternal tenderness, even as the serpent coiled tighter, sealing his fate. "Now you know," she said softly, her voice low and triumphant. "Now you understand what it means to be mine." And he did. Ecstasy and terror mingled in him until he could no longer tell them apart. His soul belonged to her, bound by kiss and embrace, claimed in the depths of the river. He had surrendered, and in that surrender, he had been undone. The night above went on, silent and unknowing, but in the depths of the water, a ritual had been completed. The seeker's desire had met its fulfillment. His fear had met its conqueror, and Mami Wata had revealed the full glory of her essence. The dance was done, the kiss sealed, the surrender absolute. And yet, even in that union, one question still lingered, heavy as the depths. Would she keep him, or would she let him go, forever marked, forever haunted, forever longing for what he had touched but could never truly possess? The water released him slowly, as though reluctant to let go. His body floated upward, guided by her touch, until he broke the surface with a gasp. The night air poured into his lungs, sharp and sweet, and for a moment he lay there, suspended between the two realms, the mortal world of stars above and the immortal depths below where she waited. The seeker clutched his chest, feeling the tremor of his heart. It beat irregularly, heavy with something new, as though the rhythm no longer belonged entirely to him. He turned in the water, searching for her face, desperate not to lose her presence. But Mami Wata remained below, watching with her unblinking gaze, her eyes shining like submerged moons. She smiled, a curve of lips that was both tender and cruel, as though she already knew what would become of him. "Go," she whispered, though her voice carried like a wave through his bones. "Return to your world, mortal. But know, you will never return unchanged." He wanted to resist, to sink back into her arms, but her serpent stirred, uncoiling, pushing him gently but firmly toward the shore. He obeyed, or perhaps he was powerless to do anything else. His limbs moved sluggishly, heavy with exhaustion, his body trembling with the weight of ecstasy and dread. Step by staggering step, he emerged from the river, dripping, shivering, alive, yet not whole. On the bank, the villagers who had warned him stood waiting. Their eyes widened at the sight of him, half naked, trembling, his skin gleaming strangely as though moonlight clung to it. Some gasped, others crossed themselves with talismans, whispering prayers. One old woman spat into the earth and shook her head. "She touched her," she hissed. "He carries her mark." The seeker could not answer. His lips still burned with the memory of her kiss. His lungs ached with water that had not drowned him, and his soul felt as though it had been turned inside out. He staggered past them, his gaze dazed, his body weak, carrying within him the echo of the divine.
That night, as he lay alone in his hut, he discovered the first sign of his fate. He reached for his chest where the serpent had coiled, and found the faint outline of scales etched into his skin, shimmering faintly in the dark. They pulsed like a heartbeat, glowing with each breath. He tried to scrub them away, but they remained indelible. His reflection in a bowl of water startled him, the same eyes, yet deeper, darker, filled with something unearthly. The villagers avoided him in the days that followed. They whispered of curses, of blessings, of men who had sought her and never returned. Some said he was doomed to waste away, consumed by longing until his body failed. Others believed he would prosper, showered with wealth and gifts from the river. And strangely, both seemed true. For soon after, gold and jewels began to appear. Nets he cast into the river returned overflowing with fish, larger than he had ever seen. Traders who once ignored him now came eagerly, offering riches for his goods. His hut filled with treasures, his name spread, and people came to bow before him, begging to know his secret. Yet none of it mattered. Each night he returned to the river's edge, waiting,
searching for her. The wealth glittered around him like dust, but it could not fill the hollow carved in his heart. His body craved her touch, his lips ached for her kiss, his soul burned with longing for the depth of her embrace. He could not forget the ecstasy, nor escape the terror. He was rich in all the world's eyes, yet poorer than ever in his own, stripped of peace, enslaved to memory. Sometimes, in the dark hours before dawn, he would hear her laughter echoing from the water, sweet, distant, mocking. He would run to the river, plunge into its depths, searching desperately. And sometimes he felt her fingers brushing his ankle, her serpent's scales grazing his thigh. But never again did she reveal herself fully. Never again did she grant him her embrace. The torment consumed him. His nights became fevered, his days restless. He ate little, slept less. The villagers whispered that he was cursed, that his riches were poisoned, that no mortal could love a goddess and live whole. His body weakened even as his coffers grew heavy. His reflection in water grew stranger, less his own. His eyes gleamed with an unearthly light. His skin shimmered faintly like scales. The mark of her kiss lingered, visible to none but him, burning against his lips. One evening, unable to bear the longing, he stripped himself bare and walked into the river. The villagers watched from afar, silent, their fear and pity mingling. He entered the water as though entering a lover's arms, step by step, until it swallowed him whole. The current carried him swiftly, but he did not resist. His body glided with ease, his lungs filled with water that no longer drowned him. He dove deeper, deeper into the shimmering light of her realm. For a moment, he thought he saw her again, her hair flowing, her eyes radiant, her smile both merciful and cruel. He reached for her, trembling, desperate, weeping, but she vanished like mist, leaving only the echo of her laughter, the shimmer of scales, the burn of longing. And then he felt the change, his body bent and twisted, his legs fusing, his skin thickening with scales. His lungs no longer needed air, his eyes widened to see in the dim glow. Terror flared in him, but it was drowned swiftly by surrender. The river claimed him fully, shaping him into one of its own. From that night forward, fishermen spoke of a new presence in the water, a creature half man, half fish, whose eyes glowed like silver moons. Some said he swam beside boats, guiding them safely. Others swore he lured men to their doom, singing with a voice drenched in sorrow and sweetness. None could deny his existence, for too many had glimpsed him, too many had felt the pull of his gaze. The villages whispered his fate as a warning and a tale. He had sought Mamiwata's love and had received it. Ecstasy beyond mortal bearing, followed by transformation beyond return. His wealth, his power, his body, even his soul had become threads woven into her tapestry. And in the depths, he remained forever bound, half man, half spirit, forever longing, forever belonging to her. Neither fully mortal nor divine, he was both blessed and cursed, exalted and destroyed. A reminder that to touch the divine in flesh, to surrender to sensuality made sacred and terrible, is to risk everything one is.
For Mami Wata does not give without taking. She offers wealth, beauty, and love, but always with a price. And those who dare accept must live or drown, knowing that ecstasy and ruin flow together like the currents of her river, inseparable, irresistible, eternal.
Stories of the Seeker and Mami Wata drift across the waters of time, whispered on riverbanks, sung by fishermen, carried on the wind that bends reeds at dusk. And though each telling may shift like the current, some claiming she blessed him, others that she destroyed him, the truth is never fixed. For Mami Wata herself is never fixed. She is both shadow and light, both caress and wound, both salvation and ruin. She is the river's secret, and the river never tells all. In the memory of those who hear her tale, she becomes more than a woman of water. She becomes a mirror in which desire stares back, unblinking. In her shimmering beauty, mortals see their own longings reflected. The hunger for love that defies reason, the yearning for wealth that cannot be quenched, the craving for knowledge or power that tempts even the cautious. She is all of this, and she is more, the embodiment of what lies beyond reach, yet never beyond dreaming. Her beauty is legendary. The long, flowing hair like rivers in motion, jewels gleaming brighter than sunlight, a serpent winding close in a dance of danger and intimacy. But her beauty is also dangerous, for it awakens the heart to what it cannot hold. To gaze upon her is to feel your soul quake, to taste both bliss and dread in one breath. Her touch, her kiss, her voice, they are as intoxicating as they are perilous. She does not destroy blindly. She does not bless freely. She reveals what already hides in the soul of those who seek her. And so the seeker's fate is not just his own. It belongs to all who have ever felt longing burn too fiercely in their chests. His surrender is every surrender, the moment one gives in to passion despite knowing the cost. His transformation is every transformation, the way love, obsession, or desire reshapes a life, leaving it unrecognizable to what came before. There is a lesson in his story, though it is not a simple warning. It does not say, "Do not desire," for desire cannot be extinguished, it cannot be silenced. It is as much a part of life as the river is to the land. Instead, the tale whispers of balance, of danger, of the thin line between surrender that liberates and surrender that devours. The seeker reached beyond the mortal and was consumed. Yet in being consumed, he touched eternity. Was he cursed, or was he fulfilled in a way no other mortal ever was? The answer shifts depending on who listens, depending on who dares to ask themselves the same question.
For what is passion but the meeting of ecstasy and fear? To love is to risk loss. To crave is to risk ruin. To surrender is to risk becoming something new, something unrecognizable, something beyond oneself. Mami Wata embodies this truth with every ripple of her hair, every curve of her lips, every whisper of her laughter in the current. She is not evil nor good. She is not blessing nor curse. She is the eternal reminder that what we long for most fiercely has the power to either shatter us or complete us. And perhaps that is why her myth endures, why it travels across seas, why it thrives not only in West Africa, but wherever waters flow. She is not bound by one place or one people. She lives in every river that conceals danger beneath beauty, every wave that tempts sailors farther from shore, every dream in which desire feels too vast for the body to contain. She is the embodiment of the unknown that we both fear and chase, the essence of the divine feminine in all her terrible, irresistible power. When mortals tell her story, they are not merely telling of a goddess or a spirit. They are telling of themselves, of the ways longing coils around the heart, the ways temptation whispers in the dark, the ways surrender feels like drowning and flying at once. They're telling of the delicate line walked by every soul who has ever loved too deeply, desired too fiercely, or reached for what glitters just beyond grasp. The seeker's fate reminds us that no passion comes without cost. His wealth could not quiet his hunger. His transformation could not bring him peace. His surrender gave him ecstasy, yes, but also endless longing. And yet there is a strange beauty even in his ruin, for he touched her. He knew her embrace. He felt what most mortals never will. And though it consumed him, it also awakened him, lifting him beyond the ordinary bounds of life. In his ruin, there was also a kind of glory. That is the paradox of Mami Wata. She is at once danger and gift. To encounter her is to stand at the threshold of what it means to be human, fragile, hungry, bound by time, and what it means to brush against the eternal. She is the goddess of waters, but she is also the goddess of longing itself. She does not merely dwell in rivers, she dwells in the heart, in every whispered craving, in every secret ache, in every desire too fierce to confess.
And so, when we hear her story, we feel her presence stir in us. We may not swim into rivers at night searching for her eyes. We may not wake with scales etched across our chest, but we know her. We know her each time passion overtakes reason. We know her when we are tempted by beauty too sharp to resist. We know her when we surrender, trembling, not knowing whether the outcome will be joy or ruin. To speak of Mami Wata is to speak of ourselves, of how easily we are enchanted, of how powerfully we can love, of how dangerously we can desire. It is to admit that our souls are rivers too, unpredictable, shimmering, filled with depths we cannot see. And within those depths lies both salvation and destruction, entwined like lovers, inseparable as the current and the tide. So let her story linger. Let it slip into the corners of your mind like water seeping into soil. Let it haunt you when you gaze into rivers, when you dream of embraces too perfect to last. When you feel desire stir like a serpent inside your chest, remember the seeker who dared and was undone. Remember Mami Wata, who waits still, her laughter rippling beneath the waves, her beauty dazzling as moonlight on water, her embrace both blessing and curse. For she is eternal, and so is the lesson she carries, that passion and fear, ecstasy and ruin, longing and surrender are not opposites, but reflections of each other. They are waves of the same tide, pulling us under, lifting us high, carrying us toward what we cannot resist. And when you ask yourself, as you surely will, whether you would have resisted her, whether you would have turned away when her eyes found yours in the dark river, listen closely to your own heart. You may find that you too would have surrendered. You may find that you already have. For Mami Wata is not only in the water, she is in every desire that stirs, every longing that aches, every surrender that remakes you. She is eternal. She is here. She is you.